Hi, man, peace. So, brothers, a few months ago, the Kansas City Chiefs waged a very classic showdown against the New England Patriots on Sunday Night Football. It was a shootout that ended 43-40 in favor of the Patriots. And now the rematch will take place this Sunday in the AFC Championship game in Kansas City. Of course, we all know how it's being billed. The young gun Pat Mahomes against the old legend Tom Brady. Who's going to win? Of course, they're going to talk about it. I'm going to chime in.
Let me ask you this. Who's the most important non-quarterback in this AFC matchup?
Okay.
Well, if we're talking about the players, I would say Damian Williams, the running back for the Kansas City Chiefs. Overall, it's going to be Andy Reid. Can Andy Reid, like Sean McVay, stay out of his own way and have the discipline to run the football? If the Kansas City Chiefs were able to get out to, say, a 14-0 or 17-0 or even 21-0 lead, can Andy Reid remember to compose himself and actually run the football as opposed to just letting Pat Mahomes go ham and throw all types of balls all across the field, so on and so forth? That might give the Patriots a chance to get back in the game if they're able to intercept some of his passes. That's the main thing. Andy Reid has gotten in his own way a lot over the course of his career. And also, the kid that they have at running back, Damian Williams, who's supposed to replace Kareem Hunt, he has to show up really big. On the Patriots side, it would be Sony Michel, their resident running back. He was exemplary last week in their matchup against the LA Chargers. Can he bring that same drive into this game? Because, of course, Belichick is going to be trying to slow the game down and give the Kansas City Chiefs as few possessions as possible.
Okay, I'm going to take one from each side, okay? On the Kansas City side, it's Andy Reid. This whole story to me of this game is Andy Reid more than anything else. He's a great coach who's actually changed. He's evolved with the game and stayed ahead of everything. There's a reason his teams are always in the playoffs, making runs and stuff.
Right, but at some point, Andy Reid has to curb himself. You know, like that old show, the title of that old show, Curb Your Enthusiasm? That's Andy Reid.
Stuff, especially with Philadelphia. But, dude, you have the squad to do it. You can't lose at home to a Bill Belichick team.
Absolutely. If the Kansas City Chiefs were to lose this game, you never know what might happen. This might set their franchise back 5 or 6 years. Because there's no guarantee that Mahomes and the Chiefs will be able to get back to this point year after year after year after year like they're the Patriots. There's no guarantee of that.
Not trying to hear it. Andy Reid is the guy who's going to have to make adjustments, etc. And what is he going to have to adjust to? I believe Bill Belichick attacks him with that two-back set. You're going to see a lot of, I believe, James White and Sony Michel together because the Chiefs' run defense has been bad all year until that.
Well, we already know James White is Tom Brady's #1 receiving target. Not just as a running back, but he's Tom Brady's #1 receiving target. So I'm sure that he's a heavy part in the Chiefs' defensive game plan.
Last week, and Belichick has killed them with that. And so I'm totally cheating on this answer. On the Chiefs side, it's Andy Reid. On the New England side, I think it's White/Sony Michel.
Okay.
Not for me. For me, I'm going to go the route of Travis Kelce. I think he's the key to this game. 7 receptions for 108 yards last week. On the season, 103 receptions, 1,336 yards, 68.7% of the times that Patrick Mahomes has targeted him this year, he's connected against this experienced Patriots defense, which knows how to bend but not break. If there's somebody that's capable of breaking them, it's a guy like Travis Kelce because he can beat you.
No, sir. We all know who the game breaker is on the Kansas City Chiefs. The dude they call a cheetah. Even though I'm not quite sure if that name applies to him, I know that he's very fast. But when I look at him, I don't see cheetah. Maybe Randy Moss, I say, was a cheetah. When I look at Tyreek Hill, I think more Jackrabbit.
You the way the Patriots have utilized Rob Gronkowski to beat you on so many occasions over the years. He is the new best tight end in football.
I agree with that. As a pass catcher, he's definitely the best tight end in football. But I don't think that he's going to be the game breaker. He'll be that source of stability for Pat Mahomes. I think that just like in the last video for the NFC Championship game, I gave certain metrics. For this game, the main metric that Pat Mahomes has to make sure that he applies to his outlook on this game is no turnovers, no interceptions, no strip sack fumbles. If he's able to maintain the Kansas City Chiefs possessions, I believe the Chiefs will win the game. And also make sure that Damian Williams has at least 20 carries.
Period. I know that Sammy Watkins.
And also Spencer Ware is supposed to be back as well. So between the two of them, If Damian Williams does not get 20 carries, maybe between the two of them, 37, 38 carries. And they'll probably win the game if they do that.
Watkins is coming back. I know that Tyreek Hill is all world. Please don't get me wrong. This brother's unstoppable as far as I'm concerned. I get all of that. But I also think if we're going to be true to what Bill Belichick is and what he has represented, which is that he takes away option number 1 and option number 2, he's going to make you somehow beat them. Not to say that that's Travis Kelce, that he's not going to be as a top 2 option, because you're going to key on him the way you would key on Tyreek Hill and probably let somebody like Sammy Watkins beat you or whatever. But I also think, Lewis,
this could be Sammy Watkins' coming out party. And I mean, let's be for real. When we compare him to the other receivers who he came into the NFL with, Odell Beckham of the Giants, also the kid down there with the Buccaneers who played with Manziel. Sammy Watkins' career thus far has been a bit of a disappointment. It really has. Because Mike Evans and Odell Beckham have made a major splash in the NFL since they've come into the league, I believe in 2013 or 2014. Sammy Watkins has yet to make a real dent, and he's floated from team to team.
Lewis, the priority is to make sure you can't run the football, to make sure, particularly in inclement weather, that you force somebody to throw the football in order to beat you, because vision could be potentially impaired, wind chill factor, all of those things come into consideration. So to me, it's going to be taking away the running game as a top 2 option. The other has to be Tyreek Hill. It can't be Travis Kelce before Tyreek Hill.
Because the home run hitter.
He's the home run hitter, which ultimately means that Travis Kelce doesn't fall along the top 2 options. That means you're going to have to deal with this brother. And
honestly, I want to see how Belichick is able to deal with Tyreek Hill, or tries to. Because that dude has game-changing type of speed. And really, I'm racking my brain to think of a small receiver like him who has as great a hands as he has and also has such explosive track-level speed after the catch. I mean, it's very, very difficult for me to think of another receiver like him that I've seen. I mean, other than Randy Moss, of course, but Randy Moss was much, much taller than Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill is a game changer. I want to see what Belichick tries to do against him. Maybe he'll try to double him and put his best corner on Watkins. But then what do you do with Kelce? That's why I believe that pretty much all the chips are, on the side of the Kansas City Chiefs. That's why I focus on Andy Reid. Andy Reid has to make sure that he gets out of his own way. Max Kellerman also highlights Andy Reid, but from a different perspective. Andy Reid has to make sure that he does not allow his offensive-minded genius to get in his way. I think that if Pat Mahomes has around 30 to 35 pass attempts, no turnovers, those 2 running backs have 35 carries or more, that's the recipe to win the game. That is the recipe to win the game, and also the play-action pass, of course.
And he will be ready.
Kelce's the best tight end in the game. He got the crown.
I'm rolling with Travis Kelce on this one. That's the key.
Non-quarterback, most important factor. I'm going to say this. It's going to be Brian Flores, the defensive coordinator of the Patriots, and the Patriots secondary. Because remember this first game now, up there in New England. Early in that game, first quarter, Pat missed 3 short touchdowns. 3, where people were screaming down the field.
Absolutely. I mean, that dude, Pat Mahomes, in their first matchup against the Patriots, had a great game, and he was terrible like the whole first half. And still ended the game with about 3 or 4 touchdown passes and well over 300 yards passing. So with these adjustments, as long as he doesn't turn the ball over, I'm not quite sure how the Patriots are going to win the game unless Belichick just comes up with a masterful game plan and Brady is out there like a maestro, which could happen.
Wide open. You watch the all-22 of that game, Tyreek had gotten loose, Kareem Hunt had gotten loose, Travis Kelce had gotten loose. So I'm going to say this. They're going to have to vary up their looks, and they will. Look, Bill's going to have his hand in it in real time as the game's going on. But this is kind of like, for me, this could really be a coming out party for Brian Flores. He could be one of those guys who says, look, as I begin to embark on this journey as the head coach of the Dolphins, presumably, if I could slow down the Chiefs offense on the road in Kansas City in the championship game, just think of what a feather in his cap that would be. And the secondary as a whole, look, I haven't seen anything. I remember the Greatest Show on Turf. I remember how good they looked when they had Isaac and Torrey and Oz Hakeem and all those guys in St. Louis.
The great Marshall Faulk as well.
When you watch all 22 of the Kansas City Chiefs and you watch these guys run routes, it's at a different speed. It looks like the film has been sped up when these guys are running. So I'm going to tell you this. Brian is going to be right in the crosshairs. The spotlight's going to be on him. The spotlight's going to be on the McCourty brothers. It's going to be on Patrick Chung. It's going to be on Deron Harmon. It's going to be on all those guys. Those guys are going to be the key to the Patriots winning this game.
My only problem with your analysis is that you're implying that if he shows up in this game and finds a way to shut down the Chiefs' offense, then that's going to be a feather in his cap and obviously could propel him to new heights. That's what you're saying, right?
No, what I'm saying is it will make Brian Flores a household name.
No, all I was trying to say is that he ain't going to do nothing because he's black, right? He ain't going to do nothing for him. That's the way I was going with it.
Well, we'll see, Stephen A. I get your point, though, but we'll see.
Ain't going to do a damn thing. He won't get a head coach.
What it'll probably do is it'll allow him to get a job that he'll be able to keep for a year or so, maybe 2 years. But if they don't show any drastic growth within, at the most, 2 years, they're going to get rid of him.
So he won't get a head coaching job because of
Are you saying he'll fulfill the Rooney rule for someone, but he won't get the job?
That's what I was saying.
Well,
and that's not a knock against him. That's a tribute to him and a compliment to him. And a damn shame that I have to say that. That's what I'm trying to say.
Why are you taking the Chiefs?
Why? Okay, multitude of reasons. One, those big plays that I talked about in that first game that they missed, they could have blew that game wide open right from the get.
Absolutely. Had Mahomes not been so nervous, that should have been a blowout, or could have been a blowout. Maybe Brady still scores 40-some-odd points, but the way that the Chiefs scored in the second half, had Mahomes not been so nervous in the first half, they could have put up 60 points out there in Gillette Stadium.
Two, Pat knows he was too hyped up in that game because it was being built up as Pat versus Tom, and you could see it. He had 2 interceptions in that game that really are not indicative of how mature this kid has played. Third, I'll say this. There's going to be 4 key players on the defensive side that weren't available in that first game for the Chiefs that'll be playing in this game, namely Justin Houston and Eric Berry in particular.
Eric Berry is going to be a very, very important addition. A very important addition for this game. Eric Berry is a top 3 safety in the NFL when he's healthy.
Those 2 guys right there weren't a bit. Dan Sorensen's going to be playing. Eric Murray's going to be playing. These are guys who were not there. So, exactly.
And let me give you another reason. You've been carrying the torch all season.
Yeah.
Another metric for the Chiefs to reach, much like the game between the Saints and the Rams. I stated if the Rams can get at least 4 sacks, they probably should win this game. Same thing with the Chiefs, especially since they'll be at home. If they can get to Brady at least 4 times, sack him at least 4 times, get about 10 hurries, they should win this game.
Yeah. For a Showtime Mahomes.
Yeah, you know
come
what?
on, you can't
I wouldn't pick
You're helping put this guy on the map.
Although I have been accused of being an absolute Patriots homer, and look, I make no bones about it.
Yeah.
What I know about football at this level was taught to me by the guy who's coaching the New England Patriots. Him and Nick Saban. It's simple as that. So it's hard to pick against them, but I'm picking against them in this game.
Because we're almost out of time, so they want all the Super Bowl picks on the record. So who you got?
I'm going with the Chiefs. Final score will be 28-17.
I'm going Chiefs Saints.
Chiefs Saints?
Yeah.
All my Chiefs Saints.
Rams Chiefs.
Patriots Saints. That'll do it.
There we go.
You'll be back with us a little.
But anyway, that's basically it on that. We'll see how this game turns out. So peace.